start conversations?
What? Oh no. Okay. I believe, yes, we are now recording.
Great. Thank you so much, Dale. Well, welcome everybody on this Friday, March 2nd. Appreciate you all logging in and tuning in. Today is MVP office hours, and there's generally 3 of us on the line. Jared is off playing with kangaroos and koalas. So you've just got myself, Jackie Travieso, and Dale Ziegler. Dale's going to be running our tech for us today. So obviously you're here.
So, you know.
You're supposed to be here. This is where we meet, first and third Friday of the month. On your screen right now, you should be able to see a list of a couple of links and all of the upcoming Dreamin' events. If you haven't had a chance to check out that bit.ly at the top that says SF Cloud Services, check that out. They've got all kinds of free webinar opportunities, in-person meeting opportunities. And I found all kinds of stuff there today that interested me, especially with the focus on migrating to Lightning. So there's a lot of key things in there that will help you get ready for your migration or your transition. And like I said, you've got the Dreamin' events, which are all community-led. We've got some new ones that are added to this list. And as I learn of more, we'll continue to grow this. Dale, you guys have your call for speakers open for Midwest Dreaming. Is that correct still?
Yes, we do. We are scheduled to close it next Friday, a week from today. So if you can make it to Chicago in July and you want to get up on stage, we would absolutely love for you to submit your idea. MidwestDreaminNoG.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and kick off to the next slide and kind of give you a little housekeeping here. So we do meet the first and third Friday of the month. Right now, our next call is actually scheduled for April 6th. There is no call the 16th. We may be able to, if we can shift schedules around, we might have an off-schedule call later in March. Stay tuned to both Twitter and the Trailblazer community for those announcements. But as of right now, we're solid for April 6th. You can always register at that bit.ly MVPOHUS. And just a reminder, today's call is an open Q&A. It's just simply a discussion. If you want to get into things that are a little more complex, such as code or advanced formulas, things like that, we might ask that we have you put that into answer so that you can get a more worldwide response, and then everybody can chime in there as well. This recording, or we are recording today, and this recording will be posted both to community and Twitter. And if you haven't had an opportunity, go ahead and please mute yourself. To ask questions, just feel free to raise your hand in the chat there. And if we have dead air, please also feel free to just chime in. One thing we do ask is that you announce yourself so that we can familiarize names with voices. And we ask everyone to just share their experiences, because that's what this is all about, is helping one another. So the only other announcement that I have today is that MVP Office Hours for Students is kicking off their first call. We're extremely excited about that. And so good luck to them. We hope to hear some good things about that. With all of that said, let's go ahead and open up the floor to questions. And it looks like Chris has a question. Chris, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away, please.
Hello, you've already announced me. I'm Chris. So my question is, it's like to have, so we're using Salesforce Communities. And a nice feature we'd like to have would be at the account level to be able to determine how many users from that account are associated to the community. So I tried to look up, tried to do some type of roll-up summary, and I could not, because the user object for those community users and the account do not connect. There's no master relationship detail there. Started exploring with, I guess there was building some roll-up summaries using Process Builder. I didn't get too far there because I'm not sure how to go about looking at that in terms of if they're a current user and then they're not a user, to deactivate the account and so forth. So I was just trying to come up with some ideas to kind of prospect how it would be able to determine how many community users within that account are actually users, and so it would give a heads up level for our client success agents.
So you want a count to display on the account record showing the sum of the total community users
From that account, correct, yeah.
from that account.
Because you enable the users via the contact record, which is the contacts associated to the account. So I was just trying to brainstorm some ideas and didn't know if anyone had anything. I know I can do reports and so forth, but if there was a heads up view, that would be much more preferable.
All right, do we have any?
you could,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, you could potentially, from the user record, whenever a user record for that community user is created or modified, yeah, you could do Process Builder, may have to go then leverage a flow to actually loop through your records. But then, yeah, drop a value onto the account object. If you're familiar and comfortable with Process Builder and Flow, that might be the quickest and easiest. But yeah, that's where user decides to flex its muscles of being a super special protected object, and
Yep.
it can do a lot of great things. And there's a lot of things you wanted to do that it can't. But that would be my shoot from the hip response. But I'm sure there might be somebody out there with a much simplified solution.
Okay.
Is it possible, and I have not done this and I don't have a lot of user experience with communities, but I know that, like you said, on the contact, you can indicate if they're a community member. Can you write a formula field that says if that field equals a community user, add a 1,
Mm-hmm.
and they're active, add a 1, and then sum that up on the account?
Yeah, I guess that, so, because technically you're linking a user to a contact, correct?
That, yeah.
So is there then any way, if you take Jackie's approach, that would go to the contact, but then can you roll up from contact to account?
Yeah, I thought about that too, some type of checkbox or indicator that would say this person's from the contact record is a community user or has a community profile as well. It's just hard because it's, like you said, the user record is completely disassociated with a lot of the fields or other objects.
Right.
Since we don't have a solution for you, I'm going to make a recommendation. Pose this question in the MVP Office Hours Trailblazer community.
Okay.
And let's tag Brian Kwong, because he is the Flownatic. And I bet you anything he could give you a recommendation. One, if he's ever done it. I'm just looking to see if he's on the line. He's not. But since he is a Flownatic, I think that maybe he might be able to give you a recommendation.
I would also suggest Automation Hour, which I believe actually meets in 50 minutes. They may be able to, nothing like scrolling on the fly, but they may be able to help you out as well.
That's a good idea.
If you,
Okay. Thanks for the feedback. I'll explore that. I didn't see anything in the community off the top of my head other than static reports, but those are good suggestions. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bruno's got his hand raised. Bruno, go ahead.
To the MVPs, thanks for doing this. I find them very valuable, these sessions, and it's not my first go around. I don't ask too many questions, but I've got a couple quick ones I think that I can ask today.
Great, we're happy to have you. Go ahead.
Awesome. So one of them is in regards to Lightning Experience. In the old Classic, you used to be able to search by letter sometimes, and that seems to be gone in Lightning. And I've looked for apps on the App Exchange. I haven't seen anything, so I'm wondering if anybody has anything there or if we just sort of need to wait for another update. That's question number one. And question number two is, for opportunities, when we try and clone, some users say, I have very similar deals. I'd like to clone them, but I'd like to clone them with the contact roles and all that other stuff. And I know it can be done in Flow. I've done that before, but it could be pretty cumbersome to copy all the fields. So I've noticed on the App Exchange some things called super clone and whatnot. I'm wondering if anybody has any feedback and any recommendations of how they'd go to sort of clone opportunities, including contact roles and all that other custom stuff that you might add to ops. That's it.
Have you downloaded the Super Clone app to your sandbox?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. I just found it. I thought I'd get some feedback before I went down that route, but yeah.
I do not have any experience with the Super Clone, but I am curious, and we'll be looking that one up. I think Dale's doing some magic right now.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Un momento, por favor. And I'm on a finicky Wi-Fi connection. So,
While he's doing that, something that I learned and experienced for myself yesterday, Firefox, if you're a Windows person, Firefox works faster than Chrome, and IE does not play well at all. So if you're having speed issues, you might try Firefox.
Great, thanks. I thought Chrome was always the fastest, so it's good to hear that Firefox has caught up, if not gone better.
It was amazing.
Right.
I was doing
Chrome has really been.
Yep.
Chrome's been investing most of its resources into trying not to be so much of a battery suck. They haven't worried as much about speed and performance as they are battery and memory and all of that. So.
Right. Okay, good to know.
Okay.
What edition are you on, Bruno?
Lightning?
Are you on professional or enterprise?
Oh, always enterprise.
Enterprise. Okay, good. Okay.
So yeah, I know there's a clone that's free, and then there's a super clone that's paid but free for nonprofits. I don't know. I haven't had any experience with either, but I'll go down that route and give those a shot if nobody's run into that or had to deal with it before.
Has anyone on the line,
like
please? Feel free to chime in, please.
I will say my first instinct would be to build a flow. I know I did it in a former life, but it wasn't on the opportunity object where things get hairy fast. It was on other functionality, whereas maybe 2 or 3 child objects, and that was it. Opportunities, especially if you're actively doing pricing or anything like that, buy it.
Yeah.
Don't build, just buy.
Exactly. I used to have clone with products, but that's again classic UI, right?
Yeah, I don't know that has carried over to Lightning yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll investigate that. Thanks for your help. Anybody on the alphabetical one?
Yeah, what was that again? I didn't completely understand.
Oh, a classic. There's like A, B, C, D. You click on the letter and it quickly can sort columns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's not in Lightning.
Oh,
right.
I didn't talk about.
So it's just gone. Okay.
Yeah, so I've heard people talk about, move that up the list, the roadmap list. I don't know where it sits.
Mm-hmm.
What I would suggest is that we go out on the Ideas Exchange, find those ideas and vote them up.
Right.
Because,
okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Awesome.
So
I don't even know what they would call that, an alpha sorter, list sorter.
Right. But this is, they should be due to updating it, but this is a link that I keep bookmarked, and it seems like we talk about this in every office hours, but it's help and training. So it's not somebody's blog, it is actually the Trailblazer community, but the Lightning roadmap that goes out a few editions of where is everything that you knew and loved in Classic, when's it going to be in Lightning. So I keep this bookmarked.
Will you drop that in the chat so everyone can copy paste it?
Of course.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's useful.
All right. Can everyone see that in the chat?
Yes.
And I'll put it in the PowerPoint as well so that we remember to post it out in the group.
Okay. Good idea. Thank you. All right. Looks like Marty has a question. Marty, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I'll second Bruno's comment. This is very useful. So I have a question this morning. I have a community, a public community, where we have enabled web to case, but in my web to case setup, I have the case origin with the default of web, but it seems to be overriding my case default with phone. In other words, I'm not getting my web as my case origin. If I put in a rule, how do I know it's coming from web to case to override it so it doesn't use phone, it uses web as case origin?
Is there anything in your code? The first thing I would do is look at your code and just make sure that the only thing that you've hard coded in there is the case origin equals web. I would just double check that.
Yeah, so I've got, good question. I have no extra code. I just have in the web to case in the setup, I just have case origin set to web. There's nothing else.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have nothing else coded in there.
On your case origin field in Salesforce, do you have a default set, a default value set?
Yes, it's set to phone.
I would,
Because that's the one, and I have it that way because any phone, case, when somebody clicks on new case, I always want, that's the one where if they're clicking on new case online, they're on the phone. Everything, so if it's email to case, email is properly being set and that's working. But the web to case from the community, I realized, and this is pretty new, is not being set to web.
So I would test, okay, I see what you're saying. I would test changing that default and not defaulting anything and see if that fixes it. If that
Okay.
fixes it, then I would say, then is web origin a required field?
Good question.
Because I'm thinking that what you're doing, what's happening is that when it's being created, even though that is coming over from, and I could be wrong, but anytime it's coming over from the web to case form and it saves it, the system is defaulting it. It's overriding it.
Yes,
with the default.
I think you're right. And when I click on I have it up on my other screen here, and when I'm in web to case settings and it says default case origin, and the little I is saying specify the default origin for cases submitted online. This setting isn't necessary if you're using an action to create the case. And I think there is an action from the community, but I won't swear to that. But I don't know, if I have to override it in like a workflow rule.
That's what I would look at. I would
Yeah,
I would take the default off, test that, see if it still works. And then if you need to default that, if you write a workflow that says if it's blank, set it to phone or whatever your value is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, good idea. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure. All right. Anybody else got questions? We've got a comment that says, and hopefully you've seen this, so try Phil Weinmeister as well, since he is the guru on communities. That's a very good recommendation. You can find him on community as well. He would definitely be able to help you. And Marnie, do you have another question?
Nope, thank you.
Okay. For those of you in the Southeast area, we've got Southeast Dreamin' that's coming up, and that would be a great place to connect with people like Phil as well. He's out of that area. And actually any of the Dreamin' events that are in your areas, those are great places to connect with people, to find out about resources or just have conversations in general. And I would suggest that when we're giving names like this, is reach out to them on community and introduce yourself and say, if you're going to be at this event, I'd love to introduce myself and, see if you have any recommendations on X topic. and they're more than happy to do that. So thank you for that recommendation.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Carlos.
Yeah, I put a few in there for whatever reason. Well, I know the reason. When I log in, I try to log in as myself. I get the accounts for the MVP office hours, Portuguese.
Oh, yes, we'll talk about that. Yes, you and I, we need to connect and figure out how to fix that. But okay, so thank you for putting that. That was a very good recommendation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and he'll be there on the Southeast Dream.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, Susan's got a good recommendation here, Bruno. This is for you. For searching by letter, she says that she'll type in, starts with an A, and
in the global search.
In the global search, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you for joining us, Susan. All right, who else has a question or a topic they want to discuss? And we're open to anything, so anything Salesforce related. Don't be shy.
I have another quick question if nobody's got another one.
Great, the floor is yours.
Okay, recurring revenue, is that available in Lightning Experience? Adding products and having revenue schedules?
Ooh, good question. Dale's going to try and bring that up for you right now. Recurring revenue, Lightning. Any of our MVPs on the line got better, more in-depth, specific experience with Lightning? Lightning is new to all of us, so we are all together trying to figure out the ins and outs and keeping up with release notes and all of that. So these are good questions because it prompts us to learn together. So there is no harm in that.
Great.
I just did now. So you want to use recurring revenue? Is that part of forecasting as well? No,
not really.
It's not.
It's more
No.
like adding products and then just having revenue schedules saying, split it up by 12 months, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay, let's see what Dale's got on his screen here that we can look at.
Betsy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hey. This is Susan Thayer. I use Lightning in products and opportunities, but I don't use recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't recall it being an option when I go through my products and setups. It'd be interesting to see where it is on the roadmap.
Okay.
Maybe, Dale, do you want to open a dev org and see if we can navigate to it?
Oh, wow. I mean, I can do that myself. I just
Okay.
figured I'd take the shortcut route here. Thanks for piping in.
And actually, you can probably maybe guide Dale on the click path. So make sure that we're going all to the right place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know how to do it in Classic. Just, maybe we can configure it there and then flip it over. I don't know.
Game the system? No. We're not all about that. Actually, we are.
Yes. If I can't find it quickly,
Okay.
I'll flip. So, all right, here he is.
Okay, so we're in setup, we're in Lightning. Where am I going? Or should I go to Classic?
If you're going to ask me, I'd go to Classic, add products to opportunities, and set up a schedule there.
Folks, I don't think it's available yet. I just put a link in there. I don't think it's available yet.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
You can see I put a link on the chat.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going over there.
Um,
All right, let's see what. Oh, I gotta keep this one bookmarked. Okay. Panes, collaborative forecast, opportunity splits.
That's a great link, Carlos. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's here before I lose it out of my cache.
No problem.
I think it said summer 18. It's coming for product schedules.
Very helpful.
That's great.
Thanks, everyone.
Love the teamwork. Thank you, everyone.
May or may not be the whole functionality, but it's a start.
Appreciate it.
I do like products in Lightning. It seems to be a better experience.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's one thing checked off. Awesome. It looks like Heather has a question. Heather, do you want to unmute yourself?
To justify our move to Lightning is there was discussion about maybe finding a list of what's no longer supported in Classic or won't be at a certain time. And so I love the checkboxes, the data that you gave earlier, that the one that we saw in the Trailblazer community. But is there any specific place I could find like just like features that are not being continued anymore to make my life easier so I don't have to go hunt and search all over the web? Make sense?
That's a good.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that they've summarized that in a list. I think it's just with each release notes, here's the functionality and whether or not it's going to be Lightning only or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems like
You know
a
what I'm
big
trying to
miss.
do? I'm like, I can't keep track of all the release notes. I'm like, I'm just trying to keep my Classic going, let alone trying to, you know, upgrade to Lightning, if that makes sense. To me,
Yep.
it's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
that's Classic, you know.
We can certainly see about getting that suggestion or that request to certain people over on the Salesforce side and see if we can see if they'll create such an animal. Because I think that is a fantastic thing, especially if they know when they're going to sunset something. Now, they've told us over and over that they are not sunsetting Classic as a whole.
No, I understand that.
But that would be great. I love that idea, and we'll see where we can, where we can.
I'm writing that down right now. I'll reach out this weekend.
Thank you. And I guess like a simple idea would be like, we had like a certain feature, like, you know, can't create this, and it was available in Classic, and it won't be no longer, or maybe even if it wasn't in Classic, whatever date it was, if it stopped in 2015, I'm just making up a date, and you know, but it's available in Lightning or whatever. Just, you guys know what I'm trying to do. So I guess I'm beating a dead horse.
So that's where it gets kind of tricky.
Read it, huh?
Right. Well, that's where it starts to get kind of tricky. Is when they say no longer, they're not going to deprecate anything from Classic. If anything gets deprecated, it's going to be Classic, or it's going to be deprecated across the board, regardless of platform. Mm-hmm. It's if something goes wrong and it's in Classic, we'll support you in it.
Yeah,
and that might be what's a little bit more difficult to wrangle, but we'll definitely put the question out there and see what comes back.
Yeah, like I said, just put it in a simple format so I know what's not going to be supported in Classic or maybe what's no longer in Classic. I think that we just remove something from Classic with some type of chat or whatever that I know my org doesn't use. And some of these features my org probably doesn't use, but still, it's just nice to have it there. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the desktop chatter, which I don't think that was specific to Classic.
Yeah, no, that's
remember.
They're just retiring it as an app altogether.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just using it as an example.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about it. If there's, I think Dale's right. I don't think they're going to get rid of anything. They're just not going to continue to improve Classic. Yep. I mean, if it translates Lightning to Classic, that's one thing, but they're not going to build anything specific for Classic going forward.
Exactly. Keeping that feature list up to date, and there's features, I don't want to say deprecated or whatever, but you guys get the point. Have it more instead of having just to have me read through every single release notes. Because usually most of the time I don't see a whole lot of those things affecting my org that much. It's more for Lightning, but I could be wrong. So
no, you're correct.
One method is how I look at it, unless you guys see something different. So,
all right, we'll see what we can find out.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'll go back on mute.
Thanks. Chris.
Hello. Just curious to see if others were experiencing the same problem I'm having with the latest release of Salesforce with the data import wizard. Some of the same steps that I've done in the past to import data worked smoothly, but since spring 18, it seems like I'm having some issues. I'm just curious. I got a support ticket out there, but just wondering if it was maybe just me, user error, or if it's something besides that. Just curious to know if anyone else on the call was having issues if they utilize it.
I haven't heard any scuttlebutt about that.
Okay.
What API version are you on?
Good question. How would I find that?
If you go to the data loader, how would you find it?
Well, are we talking data loader or data import wizard?
I'm utilizing utilizing the data import wizard.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
So one of the things, I mean, just as a quick and dirty way to do it is I will go to Workbench and just see what pops up when I'm already logged into an org. That's not 100% accurate, but it gets me there most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, it says 41, just like you.
Yeah.
Have you tried to do a data load using data loader to see if you have success that way? Either Salesforce's data loader or data loader IO?
Yeah, I didn't, but I didn't need to because it worked without error, last month. So I'm just curious to know if it was something. I mean, there's alternatives to do it, but
Yeah.
I was just curious to know if something was on my end or something on the platform itself. But
I don't use the data import wizard. I feel like I have much more control when I'm using an import tool because I can see everything, segregate everything. I just feel like I have more control over it. It feels safer to me. That doesn't mean that it is or isn't. It's just that's my comfort tool.
no, I agree too. It was for another admin on the other team here, so I just thought I'd ask. So I'll continue to look.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Which object were you trying to import using the data wizard?
Oh yeah, good question. So it is our accounting platform, which is called Accounting Seed, which is native on the Force platform. We checked with them, and they had said it wasn't the file format was correct. Everything lined up. It was one of those, Salesforce error codes, and that doesn't really mean anything for you and I. And when we search on it, we can't find anything. I just don't know what. But I have a ticket with them, so we'll see what they say.
Did you happen to try doing the load through Classic as well, or another load through Classic? Just to isolate, is it Lightning that is causing it, or?
Yeah, another good question. Yeah, we're only utilizing Classic at this time, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried before just doing trailheads using that. I don't even use the regular data loader. I pretty much use the data loader IO, which I feel a little bit more comfortable with. But that's something that you could try for free. How many records are you trying to import?
Oh, it's not many, maybe 50. That would be the next step, is to try a third-party service, but the problem is the other user doesn't have access to those, so I would have to train them on that. So
yeah, but data loader IO, you pretty much go in there and log in as yourself or whoever has access to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much it, you say, hey, I authorize it to access on my behalf and get over with. I mean, I don't do data imports that often, but when I have to do it, that's what I use, data loader IO.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like the consensus of the group is to utilize other services versus the data import wizard. So we'll try that.
Now, to give Data Import Wizard some credit, it is a great tool for power users that you've empowered to import mass amounts of data. It is, I like the wizard approach because, it is for the most part foolproof. But if you're in more of an admin seat, yeah, the third-party tools are definitely going to be the way to go.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Anybody else have a question? Heather's asking, does anyone know what the percentage is classic versus Lightning? I'm assuming that's features and functionalities. I don't know that. Here, I'm going to unmute.
No,
you.
I was just curious more of like, how many people moved over to Lightning in Salesforce for bits and pieces. I think maybe 30%, not even that. Just curious, since we were talking about Lightning and Classic, but just random,
so
I
you
guess.
know the number of companies who have migrated. I think it's just more every day.
What's really interesting, like an interesting sub-question to that is how many of those companies that are using Lightning are exclusively Lightning.
Oh, good point.
I know,
thank you.
I know we, at least like with our company, we have clients that it's a slow migration, and they have some users that are in Lightning, but others that they haven't been able to get off of Classic because their specific business functions weren't ready for the leap, or it was going to take more work or whatever. So we do know that was it a year and a half ago, maybe 4 or 5 versions ago, any new orgs were going to be defaulted to Lightning. So that right there encouraged use of Lightning. How those numbers play into that question, I don't know, but that answer, like, I would be shocked if it's over 60% utilization in any way, shape, or form. Maybe it's 70, at least touching it. But full migration, yeah, you're probably under 50.
I just saw that Rob said that they're 30% somewhere, and I'm just curious. You bring up a good question. Is that if you can elaborate? Is why would with your clients only want to do partial move to Lightning? I'm just curious about that. If you can, whatever you can tell, I understand.
It's not want so much as it is necessity, because again, going back to not all features that we've had in Classic are Lightning ready, and there are some companies that are like they're chomping at the bit to get to Lightning, but they've just flat out can't because things A, B, and C aren't Lightning ready, so they have to be able to switch back to Classic.
Okay, and I was just curious what specific were those features, but I always feel like I had to touch and go with people's clients, so there's ones that you can elaborate on.
Oh, no, you're fine. I mean, pick anything in the forecasting realm that's still getting fully baked. Yeah.
Well, up until now, the service really hasn't been full parity, and they've been making a lot of improvements with every release. I would say it wasn't until summer last year that it was a viable solution for most companies. With summer last year, it really became, hey, this will work for 80% of companies. But then you're talking planning, the work, the effort. So I think you'll see a lot more companies switch this year. It's, just waiting until you had enough parity that you can make the switch, and then you have to wait until you have the resources to do it.
It sounds like they're pumping it more. Oh, I'm sorry, it sounds like they're pumping it more than really what it's worth if I say that. I'm trying not to be Debbie Downer, but again, when I hear these lower numbers, but yet there's obviously this push to do that then, especially on this call.
So I've switched a lot of orgs to Lightning, starting with more sales-specific orgs because that was the first functionality that came out. And it is a better user experience. The users that I've switched, we give them the ability to go back to Classic, and I track this, I report on it. They don't anymore. They do it first, right, because it's just different. But before you kind of had to switch back. You had to switch back for some reporting functionality. There's a few things you still can't do, like ideas is not in Lightning. But users, they like it. It's a cleaner, better experience. There's still some quirks, like you can't search by filter on the last name of M, for example. But it's good. I recommend doing the preview if you haven't already, and seeing how it looks.
I would definitely agree with Susan. And at a minimum, you should turn it on for yourself as an admin so you can start to get comfortable with where things are and how they work.
Heather,
Yes.
how many users do you have?
Just under 175.
Okay, well, right now I'm in an environment with 25,000 and all 100% Lightning. Okay, so they never seen Classic before, so that's kind of easier. But when I talk to other people that are trying to make a transition, you have to kind of go like on a viral, or when you try to make a sale, you have to find somebody on the other side that is positive about your product, and then you find that to be the coach. That will be the approach to take a small teams and do a little pilots to them, key people that have a power to influence, you know, good users that you say, yes, if it's something on HR or any department, you see people pay attention to them, you know, like a magnet, and have them and show the goodies. Don't necessarily hide the bad, but show the goodies. So that's a good way of to increase adoption.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. That's a good idea. I think those are just, from what I can tell, it's just challenges within the organization, especially our instance is several years old.
Yeah.
So it's time to clean up. But anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate that feedback.
Good stuff. And if y'all haven't noticed, Marty posted a link in the chat for the Lightning Alphabet idea. So we should all go out there and vote on that one. That was the one that you were asking about, Bruno. Thank you for finding that, Marty, and posting it. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jackie and Marty.
All right, what other topics do y'all want to discuss? We've got about 18 minutes, so.
I think it was Heather that was speaking earlier.
Yes.
This is Susan. If you might want to check out the Lightning Readiness Tour, and it might enlighten you on some of the features and some of the issues in the process for switching to Lightning. There's also some great Lightning overview packs that kind of explain to business leaders why it's something to consider. I'll have to see if I can send some links out there, but there's some really good resources to at least start the conversation with your leadership.
Yeah, thank you. I looked at the Lightning, the roadmap one, and there's a downloadable PowerPoint that I'm aware of. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I couldn't hear if you said there was or wasn't, but yeah.
Sorry. So there's a Lightning roadmap, and I actually have it in my bookmarks, and there's a PowerPoint slide that you can do and whatnot, and they show you how to sandbox. I'd probably say our sandboxes, our org is a little bit challenging to even do that. I don't want to make excuses, but I've showed them Lightning, and now it's a matter of probably taking it a step further, just because what I'd like to show them is our org is not ready for that yet. But thank you, though.
All right, and I also just want to point out, Susan, thank you also for posting the link for the known issues in Spring 18. So maybe there's a data loader wizard acknowledgement in that link. So we'll have to check that out. Thank you. Thank you. Marty, you have another question?
Yes, I do. So no one else does. Does anyone on the line have experience with person accounts? Someone I'm working with wants to implement them because they're a B2C business. And I just want to confirm that I believe what is true is when you create a person account, the system creates a contact, and we're going to implement Service Cloud. We have implemented Service Cloud and now want to add person accounts, and the case in Service Cloud seems to be defaulting to person account. Any comments, pros or cons on person account?
Rob says he's got some experience. Rob, are you, let me unmute you.
Thanks, Jackie.
There you go.
Thanks, Jackie. Sorry, didn't catch your name again?
Marty.
Marty, thanks.
Thank you.
So I have some limited person account experience. In 2 implementations that I've been associated with, we've deployed person accounts, including my current implementation. You're correct, a parallel contact is created. You generally would never touch it. You would work with the person account for nearly any kind of user experience that you want your users to have. The one notable exception there is if you're doing some campaign management and you need to, let's say, rejigger some campaign members. In other words, you want to take them off of one campaign and put them on another campaign, and you want to do some sort of bulk load for that, typically with the data loader or the data loader IO. Then you would want to do that with the contact ID associated with that person account. But if any of my users come and ask me for a person account report, you know, how many new person accounts did we create last week? I'm always giving them a person account report from accounts. I'm not giving them contact object data. Does that help at all?
Yep, thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, fantastic contributions, everyone. We probably have time for 1 or 2 more topics. I don't see any additional questions listed in our group chat. Can you think of anything else that's a burning question keeping you awake at night? Come on, y'all know that you're awake at 2 o'clock going, how do I solve this Salesforce challenge?
So true.
All right, I don't want to cut the call short, but if we don't have anything else that we want to talk about, Dale, do you have anything that you want to add or chime in, or?
No, Midwest Dreamin'.
There
That's
you
not
go.
what we're here to talk about.
And if you do go to any of those events and you're looking to have an introduction to somebody, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we will definitely make an introduction for you. There is no harm in that. Love making introductions. It's one of my favorite things to do. All right, let me check one last time, see if we have any hands raised in our chat. We do not. Oh, we definitely need to be promoting Northeast Dreamin'. It's their first one. Looking forward to that. I believe that is going to be in New Hampshire. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that'll be a first-time inaugural event for them, I do believe. So thank you for pointing that out, Rob. Much appreciation. All right, if y'all don't have any additional questions or topics that you want to discuss, we'll give you, what was that? Okay, thought I heard something. Let's give you, a few minutes back into your Friday before you go off to your next meeting. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again on
Thank you.
April. You are more than welcome. April 6th, watch Twitter and community for the next round of RSVP links.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great weekend, y'all. Thank you, Dale, for driving tech.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.